Yarnivores. Hope you're doing well. Fiber Spider back again with our crochet along. Sorry, it's been a while since our last session, but due to requests again, I figure, hey, why not? Let's keep going, shall we? So, we are on, I believe it's part 4 still, and so we did this triangle here, and then we mosey our way in a clockwise fashion to our next triangle. And now, continuing on, we're going to start on this side. All right. So, that being the case, we are going to roll up our project just a little bit to make it a little bit easier, because this project gets big quick. As if any of you have been doing this, you know that it gets a little cumbersome. But hey, we strive and we keep going. So we're going to continue right along. And yes, I found my hook. That's always a good thing. All right, so we have our center space, and then we have to go over 3, right? So into the 3rd double crochet, because it's always going over 3. And we pull up a loop, and then chain 1 and a single crochet into, oops, hello, come on, a single crochet into that same stitch, there we are, and then into that center space we do our clusters. So it's 3 double crochet, and 2, and 3, and then we chain 2, and then do 3 more double crochets into that same space. It's 1, and 2, and 3. And then we chain 1, and we have to find the 3rd stitch again. So that's the 3rd double crochet on this side. And so we do a slip stitch. There we go. And then chain 2. And then we need to find our 3rd stitch on this side. So chain 2, 3. So that's the middle one. And we do a single crochet. And then we flip the work. It's the one thing about doing blankets. All right. And then we need to finish our cluster into that space down below. See, I rather enjoy doing blankets. Now, there are several methods, of course, of doing them. And so I did my, technically 3 doubles, a chain 1, and then I do my 2 clusters in here. Because on the one hand, if you're doing a blanket that is one piece, you know, it can be somewhat difficult to work with, you know, the bigger it gets. On the other hand, you could do a blanket with, say, single small granny squares, and that's cool too, but then you have the task of connecting them all together, which, you know, that too can be an issue. There's no perfect system, you know? All right, so we have our 2 clusters in the center, separated by a chain 2. And then down into this space here. Oh, I almost forgot. Got a chain 1, don't I? Too busy yakking away, I'm sorry. So into this space, we do 3 double crochets. And do a chain 1, and then we need to find the third space on this side. So it's chain 2, 3. So it's the middle one on this side. We do a slip stitch, there we go, and then we chain 2, and then from this side we have to find the third. So that's 1, chain 3. That's a single crochet. Then we turn the work again. All right, and with this orange, it is a total of 4 rows, and then we switch colors. That is, at least for the piece that I'm doing, And I've seen so many pieces that you guys have done, and I am impressed. I've seen some really great use of color, and I've seen a lot of what you're doing, and that you've progressed far further than where I'm presently at. But I wanted to do as much of this on camera as possible. I haven't skipped ahead since the last video. So we have our initial connection there, 2 more double crochets, a chain 1, another cluster. It's really the same exact thing as the last video. And because of that, I was thinking about doing a somewhat abbreviated version of the past video, not doing absolutely every stitch on camera. I hope you guys don't feel cheated. All right, so I did my cluster, I did my chain 2, now I do another cluster within that same space. But when I'm doing the rows that get rather large and it's all repetition, I feel that, granted, some of you have said, no, you're not boring, you like the company. I appreciate that. Believe you me, I do. And I can totally understand exactly what you're saying and where you're coming from. But due to time constraints and so forth, I want to make the videos a little bit shorter, if possible. For those of you that have any experience with uploading, know that to upload a video that is 2 hours long, it's tricky. Just a little secret. So into that space, I did my final cluster. I chained 1, and then we have to go over 3 spaces to the left. So that's 1, and then the chain, and then 3. So that's the first one there. We do a slip stitch like so. So we've got 3 of our 4. And I'm going to do just one more row with the orange here. Chaining of 2. Go over to the third. So that's 1, 2, and 3. Going into that chain stitch is always a pain in the tuchus, but we strive and we carry on, don't we? There we go. And then we turn our work again. Okay. And then into that space down there, we do 2 more double crochets. Yeah, and thing is that I can do this a lot faster off camera also. And therefore I can produce these videos faster if I'm doing more of the work off camera, and therefore we can finish this up faster, because after I'm done with this series of triangles, I want to do another series and quite possibly another series after that. I mean, granted, it also also depends on whether or not you guys are still interested. If not, I can move on to other projects. Believe you me, that is okay. I do not mind, and I do not take it personally. I just want to help. That is my first and foremost thing, and my first and foremost motive for doing these videos is that I love to help. Enlighten, educate, entertain. It's one of my little mottos you guys should know by now, if you've been watching me for any length of time. Alright, so we've got our 2 clusters separated by a chain 2 right there. And we're going to work our way down the other side. We are very much getting there with the end of the orange. And then we'll move on to the next color. Alrighty. And just a couple more. Doing our final cluster into this space here, like so. And then chain 1, and then into the dreaded chain stitch, we do our last stitch. I mean, it's not dreaded, it's just not my favorite thing to go into chain stitches. There we go. And we do that slip stitch, and we pull up our loop, and then snip snip, if I can find my scissors somewhere. Oh, here we are. And then we're going to start our new color. Always fun to do, right? So you just pull out this loop, and we're good to go. Just gonna pause for a second, and I'll be right back. Alrighty, so I finished off my end over here. Now we flip the work once again. Always flip, flip, flip. I'm not flipping out, I'm just flipping my work. Alright, and so the next color is my gray. And we need to find the 3rd stitch once again. So that's going to be the 3rd stitch right here, the 3rd double crochet. And we pull up a loop, chain 1, and single crochet all within that same stitch right there. Shaboom. Pulling that tail just a little bit. And then we proceed by pulling this tail just a little bit to make sure that it's taut. And so we're just going to keep doing our clusters all the way along, just as we have been. All right. And just a little bit of chit-chat here. You know, I've been working on tons of stuff, you know, both on as well as off camera as of late. You know, different shawl projects and ideas, and searching through Ravelry and Pinterest, and really trying to come up with some great little goodies for you guys to work on. You know, knitted as well as crocheted, for those of you hybrids out there. And you know, I mean, I'm planning like months ahead of myself. You know, I tend to project just a little bit. So we've got all these clusters going on here, just as we have been. And then we do our double cluster in the top here, as always. You know, I've got some great plans for October, because I love the fall and I love Halloween ever since I was a kid. And I don't dress up anymore, but I do love the holiday, because It's not denominational, and anybody can celebrate it and enjoy. All right. So we've got our 2 clusters there, and then we chain 1, and then just continue our clusters down the other side. Like so. There we go. I even have some ideas not just for the fall season, but also the winter season. Alas, my brain never quite rests. It's sort of a blessing and a curse at the same time. All right, so we do our last cluster into the space down in here. There we are. Okay, and then because with this color, the gray, we need to do 2 rows. We're just going to continue right along. So I did my last cluster, my chain 1. We need to go over to the 3rd stitch once again. So that's the 3rd double crochet right over here, because even though it's a little stretched, it does go into that chain. So it's 1, 2, 3. So we go in there with a slip stitch. And then chain 2, 1, 2. And then go into the 3rd stitch again. So that's the chain 2, 3. So that's the center double crochet stitch. We do a single crochet stitch right there. And then we turn our work. All right. And then we finish off this cluster with 2 more doubles down in this space. Chain 1. And then just continue on with our clusters. Chain 1. Keep having to shift everything. All right. And yeah, it's not just stitching projects that I have in mind for October, but also I've been working on an audiobook project for October, and hopefully I'll be able to get where I want to be with that in time for that month. So it's very much a work in progress. It is a lot of recording, a lot of filming, and for those of you that have been following my audio recordings with the audiobooks, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it, because it is a lot of work. All right, so we did our 1 cluster. We need to do a chain 2 and another cluster within that same space. Yeah, I do a lot of recording and then deleting and recording and deleting, because there we go. So we got our 2 clusters, and we're just going to do the clusters down this side. Yeah, if I flub during an audio recording, I will just delete the file and then start over. So I end up doing a lot of little recordings, and then I string them all together to make the full chapter or the full short story or whatever. And that's how I do it. And so sometimes it's like, yeah, a good 5, 10, 15 takes just trying to get 1 paragraph read. So it may not seem like it, but it is a lot of work. And again, I really appreciate you guys viewing them, because I'm very passionate, not just about crafts, but also about reading, and I really like sharing it with you guys. And as I'm, if you've taken a look, you can see I've got lots of different books that I'm currently going through, and I've got lots more that I would like to do, so it's very much an ongoing process. Alright, so we've reached the end of the road, so we need to do another cluster down in here, and that's actually going to be the last one of the gray. Alrighty. And then we chain one, and we need to anchor this one, so let's see. That's 1, 2, and 3. So into that center double crochet, we do a slip stitch. All right, and then we cut our yarn, and we will go back to the orange, I believe. Just pull that loop out like so. All right, so making some nice progress. All right, I will be right back. Alrighty, so we left off by ending this tail here, and then so of course we need to flip our work. There we are. And we're going to go back to the orange in my case. And it's going to be for another 4 more rows. Alright, so we need to skip over to the third. So that would be 1, 2, and 3. So that's the first double crochet on the next cluster. And then we pull up our loop, chain 1, and single crochet into that same stitch, like so. And then we pull the gray just a little bit to make sure that's taut, and do our 3 doubles to make our first cluster. Ta-da! Alrighty. And then we just continue along on this row just as we always have been. Nothing has changed, not to worry. So getting back to the holidays and so forth, for those of you that like to plan ahead and give yourself lots of time in advance, I know it's early, but I also know that a lot of the stores are already doing the whole Christmas in July thing, and personally I think it's a little crazy, but, well, okay, I think it's crazy when the stores do that. However, when people are making their own decorations and making their own presents and really having a DIY kind of experience, then I can understand it. So, that being said, if there are some of you that are interested in, preparing for, say Halloween specifically, I do have, in case if you didn't know, I do have a couple of videos that might be of interest to you. One of them is an adorable little crocheted ghost, very, very easy pattern. Another one is a little crocheted spider, and I believe I also have a little crocheted pumpkin. And they are pretty easy patterns to follow along with, and they would be actually rather early in the playlist for this crocheting playlist, crocheting with Fiber Spider, because I did those videos, I want to say last September or last October. So, all right, we've worked our way to the top, so we have to do a chain 2, and then another cluster. So for those of you that like to plan ahead, that is a possibility. All right, so we've got our 2 clusters there, and then we chain 1 and do our clusters down this side. Alrighty. So we're just going to keep working our way across. All right. Do 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 doodly do 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 do. All right, so we're almost done with our first row of the 4 that we're going to be doing in orange. And I think I'm just about at that point where I'm going to start abbreviating, as I've said. All right, so we need to do one more cluster down into this space here, like so. All right, like that. And then chain 1, gotta find the 3rd. So that would be 1, 2, and 3. So that's the first double crochet on that one, slip stitch, chain 2, and then we've got to find the 3rd again. Alas, it is the chain stitch. Yeah. You guys know just how much I love that chain stitch. All right, there we are. And so we do a single crochet to lock that into place. And then we turn our work. Like so. And then we finish up this cluster by going into there, into that bottom space, doing 2 more doubles, chain 1, and then just continue doing the clusters. So I'm going to keep stitching along, and I will meet up with you when I hit the top there. Be right back. Alrighty, so I'm at the apex once again. So we're just doing our 2 clusters. So it's the 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets into the same space. You guys can totally do it. I mean, I know you can because I've seen so many pictures. All right. And there we are. So then we're just going to continue on along this side in the same manner with our clusters, and I'll meet back up with you when I'm at the end there. Alrighty, so I have reached the end of this row in essence, and we just got to do our cluster down into here, like so. Ta-da! Alright, and chain 1. Alright, so then we need to find the 3rd down here, so that was the chain stitch. Goodness me. There we are. And we are slip stitching like so. And then we chain 2, then we find the third again, so that is 1, 2, and 3, so that's the last double of that cluster. We do the single crochet. All right. And then we get to turn our work once again. Get ourselves a little situated. All right. And then we do 2 more doubles into this space down here to finish our initial cluster. All right. And then chain 1 and do some more clusters. Like so. So I'm going to now keep traveling along and across and so forth, being sure to do my 2 clusters separated by a chain 2 space up in here, and then go all the way to the other end over here. So I will meet back up with you when I'm there. All right over here. Okay, back in a flash, my dears. Okie dokie pokey. So we're nearing the end of our 3rd row. Chain 1, and then finish off by continuing to do a final cluster in this space down in there. That's 2, and whoop. Come on. And 3. There we go. And so we finish off by doing a chain 1, and we have to anchor this side. So that is going to be the 3rd double crochet, excuse me, the 3rd double crochet in this cluster here. Do a slip stitch, like so. And then we need to do another chain 2 and go into the 3rd on this side. So that's 1, 2, 3. So that's the center double crochet with a single crochet. And then we turn the work once again, but this is the last time with the orange, at least for me. Of course, it depends on what color scheme you're going for, but yeah, this is going to be the last one for the orange for me. And so again, just going to the bottom there with 2 more double crochets to finish off that cluster, and then we just continue all the way up until we hit the top here. So it's 2 clusters separated by a chain 2 space, and then we keep working our way over to here, and I will meet back up with you when I'm over right there. Alrighty, I'll be right back. Alrighty, so we're nearly done with our 4th row of the orange. Finishing by chaining 1 and doing a cluster into this space down in here. Like so. And then we switch off, in my case, to the golden yellow color. So we did our 3. Excuse me. We chain 1, and then we go into the 3rd on this side. So that's 1, 2, and 3. So that's the center double crochet. We do a slip stitch, like so, and then we cut and pull through. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. All right, so now moving on to the yellow, we first have to turn our work. Like so. Find the 3rd once again. So that is 1, 2, and 3. So that's the 1st double crochet of the next cluster. We pull up a loop, chain 1 and single crochet into that same stitch, like so. Pull on our yarn tails to make sure they're taut. And then let's do our clusters. If I can do a double crochet. There we are. Ta-da! All right. So I'm really just going to keep keeping on with my clusters, and then of course when I reach the top here, I'm going to do 2 clusters separated by a chain 2 space, and then mosey, mosey, mosey all the way down to here, and then we'll continue on. Alrighty? Hope you're all following along okay. Alrighty, so almost done with our first row of the yellow. Just going to finish that up for you right now, right here, by going to that bottom space right there. Do our last cluster of this row, and then we're going to do one more row with the yellow, and then we're going to move on color-wise. All right. So that was the center stitch there. So that's 1, 2, and 3. So that's the first right here with a slip stitch, chain 2. Then we have to go into the third, 1, 2, and 3 into the chain stitch. Oh me, oh my. There we are. And we do our single crochet, like so. And then we flip our work. There. All right. I'm on the wrong side of the hook here. There we go. All right, like so. And then we finish off this cluster by doing 2 more double crochets into that bottom space to finish off the cluster, chain 1, and then do our clusters all up this side, being sure to do our double cluster. 2 clusters separated by a chain 2 space right in here, up top, and then all the way down to here. And I will meet back up with you when I reach the ends there. And, you know, I mean, I know that it's taking you the same amount of time, you know, regardless of what I film or don't film, but in this way of me cutting to, you know, getting to the end of the row, for me, it goes a lot faster, and, you know, I find that it works a lot easier for me. Honestly, I am interested in your comments as far as should I continue this style of cutting to the end of the row or just keep going. It's a fine line, you know. I know that I can't please everybody, but I want to please as many of you as I can and still teach this as best I can, okay? So for now, I'm going to stop quit while I'm ahead, and I'm going to go and I'm going to meet back up with you when I reach over here. Okie dokie, okie dokie. I'll be right back. Alrighty, so we're approaching the end of the second row of the gold, and then we're going to switch over to the gray again. So just make sure that our ends are a little taut there. And going into this bottom space here, we're doing our final cluster of this row. And there we are. Ta-da! And chain 1, and then we skip over to the third, which is our chain stitch. Once again. Come on. There we are. I'm going to do a slip stitch into that chain stitch. And it is giving me some trouble, but that's okay. Nothing new there. All right. And because that's the end of the yellow for me, I'm going to pull that loop out. Snippity snip, snip, snip. And then pull up our loop. Away with the yellow. Turn our work. All right. And now we are going to do a single row of the gray. Just pull out a little bit of yarn here. All right. And we're getting pretty close. We are indeed. So we need to skip to the third once again. So that's 1, 2, and 3. So that's the third double of the next cluster. We pull up a loop, chain 1, and single into that stitch, like so. And then making sure that the yellow is taut, we do our 3 doubles into that bottom space there. Chain 1 and continue on with our clusters. Like so. And then we're going to mosey, mosey, mosey our way across all this edge here. And when we reach the corner, we do our 2 clusters separated by a chain 2 space, mosey, 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 mosey. And then we're going to switch off to our white yarn once we reach the end of this row. So I'll be back in a flash and we'll continue on. Alright, so we've reached the end of the gray row and just got to do one more cluster into the bottom space down in here, like so. That's 1 and 2 and 3, like so. All right, then we chain 1 and we've got to anchor this side. So that's going to be the third double crochet of this cluster. We do our slip stitch, pull up our loop, and we are going to cut our yarn, if I can find my scissors. And, found them, sorry. Okay, and then we pull out our loop here. And then we turn our work. We are so close, my dears. We most assuredly are. All right, so now we're going to be doing a total of 3 rows of the white, in my case. So what we need to do is we need to skip over 3 stitches again. So that's 1, 2, and 3. So that's the middle double crochet of the next cluster over, like so. Pull up a loop, chain 1, and single crochet into that same stitch. Just pull our ends a little bit taut. And let's get going. And 2 and 3. Okay. Then of course we chain 1 and we do 3 more doubles, chain 1, 3 more doubles, etc., etc. And so we're just going to traverse across this entire length here, being sure to do our 2 clusters separated by a chain 2 space up in here, and then working our way all the way down, and then we'll do the changeover at the end. Alrighty? Be back in a flash. Alrighty, so we're almost done with the first row of the white, ending it just like we've done all of our others. Do our final cluster into that space down below. And we've got our third one. We chain 1. And then we need to go over 3, so that's 1, 2, and 3, so that's the middle double crochet with our slip stitch. Then we chain 2, go over to the third once again, so that's 1, 2, and 3, that's the first double. We do our single crochet stitch, and then we turn our work. We're almost there. All right. And so we finish the cluster by doing 2 double crochets into that chain space, well, that bottom space down below. Then we chain 1 and continue our way along. And we keep progressing and progressing and progressing until we do our 2 clusters separated by a chain 2 space. And then we progress, and then we progress, and we progress some further and some more. And then I'll meet back up with you when, oh, I'm losing my voice already. When I reach the end here, and then we will do the last row of the white. All right, back in a flash. Alrighty, so the end of our second white row, just about. And we go into that bottom space there with our final cluster. Do-do-do, do-do-do, do-do-do-do, do-do-do. Chain 1, and we have to anchor this one down here. So that is 1, 2, and 3. So it is the first cluster there, like so. And so we're doing a slip stitch. All right. And then, because this is going to be the last row, we're going to chain up 3, like so. And then we turn our work. Because we're not going to connect it further. All right, just got to get myself situated here. All right. Oh, okay, I thought I did. Hang on. Don't want this to be all tangly-tangly. There we go. Pardon me. All right. See, I have my chains facing that way. When I was turning my work, it got a little confuzzled. All right, so because we did our chaining up of 3, we do 2 double crochets down into that space to finish off our first cluster of the last row. And let's just pull our ends there. Okay. All right. And then doing our clusters just as we have been. We're just going to work our way across and up to the top. And as always, do our 2 clusters up here separated by a chain 2 space, and then I will meet you when I reach the end of the row. And then we will finish off, and that'll be that for this one. All right, be right back, my dears. All right, so we're almost done with our final row of our triangle. And quite simply, it is just, chaining one there and doing our final cluster within that space. That's 1 and 2 and, oops, perhaps not so simple, and 3. And then that's it, because we're going to do our last triangle on this side, which I may or may not do off camera, because the next triangle, the last triangle, is the exact same thing that I've done just now in this video. And I'm sure that there's going to be a mixed review about this video, that some of you think that I should have been abbreviating them all along, others that they would like more commentary. I know I can't please everybody, although I do try to please as many of you as I can. I'm just trying to do the best I can, point blank, that's really what it boils down to. But listen, I really do hope that you like this crochet along and this video, as well as all of my other videos, because I give it my all, and, I love you guys. So listen, if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, etc., please do so in the comment section down below. Also, if you like the video, please hit the like button. It really helps. And if you haven't done so already, please hit the subscribe button if you want to see more videos, whether it's of this crochet along or my videos in general. So until next time, stay inspired, stay caffeinated, and above all, stay stitching. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.